You wake up and your back already hurts. You have not lifted anything heavy. You have not run anywhere. You slept 8 hours on a mattress engineered to support your spine. And your back still hurts. Your ancestors did not have this problem. For roughly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens woke up on the ground, hunted at a dead sprint, and carried wounded companions across open savanna. Not because they were tougher, but because the bodies they lived inside were used the way those bodies were actually designed to be used. Here is what almost nobody tells you. Ancient health was not better in every way. Childhood mortality was devastating. A single infected tooth could kill you at 30, but in the specific ways that are quietly destroying modern bodies: the chronic inflammation, the metabolic dysfunction, the structural deterioration ancient humans were, by nearly every skeletal measure we have, and the gap between their bodies and yours is not genetic. It is behavioral. Bioarchaeologist Kristen Sobolik spent decades analyzing skeletal remains from prehistoric populations across North America. What she found was not a fragile species on the edge of collapse. The bones showed dense cortical structure, low rates of degenerative joint disease, and almost no evidence of the spinal compression fractures that send millions of people to orthopedists every year. Those spines were loaded heavily and constantly, but they were loaded in motion, not in stillness. That distinction changes almost everything. So let us reconstruct a day. You are a hunter-gatherer in what will one day become Western Europe. Approximately 20,000 years ago, you wake before full light because the temperature in the rock shelter has dropped. Your body does this automatically. Sleeping in a natural thermal environment keeps your circadian rhythm, your internal hormonal clock, locked into a precise biological cycle. Chronobiologist Till Roenberg has documented how modern electric light pushes the human clock 2 to 3 hours past its optimum, creating what he calls social jet lag, a chronic, low-grade disruption that elevates cortisol, wrecks insulin sensitivity, and quietly accelerates inflammation in nearly every tissue in your body. You do not have electric light. You feel, without knowing why, genuinely alert. You eat, not a processed meal. Lean protein, animal fat, roasted tubers, dried berries. The meal is extraordinarily high in fiber. Anthropologist Herman Ponce's research with the Hadza of Tanzania found that the average Hadza adult consumes roughly 100 grams of dietary fiber per day. The average American consumes 15. That fiber feeds a gut microbiome of staggering diversity. Bacteria that regulate immune function, synthesize neurotransmitters, and control systemic inflammation, a landmark 2015 study in Nature. Communications found that the Hadza microbiome contains entire species that have vanished from Western gut populations. Not because of genetics, because of what those people eat and what you no longer do. After eating, you move, not as exercise. You move because movement is how you get things. You track a deer for 4 hours across mixed terrain, creek beds, inclines, then seskrub. You walk, crouch, sprint in short bursts, stop, read the ground, crouch again. This pattern low-intensity steady movement interrupted by brief explosive. Effort is almost exactly the training protocol exercise physiologists like Mark Tarnopolsky at McMaster University have identified as optimal for mitochondrial health, the health of the energy-producing structures inside every cell in your body. You are not training. You are just alive, but the biological effect is identical. You are also mildly cold. Your body produces heat to compensate, activating brown adipose tissue, a metabolically active fat that burns energy to generate warmth. Endocrinologist Paul Lee at the Garvan Institute has linked the loss of thermal variability in modern life to rising rates of metabolic dysfunction and type 2 diabetes. Your ancient body, exposed to real temperature swings, is running a furnace that modern bodies have largely switched off. Back at camp, you are never alone. You have spent your entire life in proximity to the same 15 to 50 people. Robin Dunbar's research on hunter-gatherer social structure shows that isolation from the band was not a lifestyle preference. It was a death sentence. The neurological cost of losing that is measurable. Researcher John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago found that chronic loneliness elevates inflammatory markers to levels comparable with smoking 15 cigarettes a day. You are never lonely. That particular damage does not exist in your world. At night, fire, talk. Primatologist Polly Wiesner recorded hundreds of hours of Rue, Honsan fireside conversation and found it dominated by narrative and social memory. The mechanism by which knowledge moved between generations. Your brain, doing this every night, is not winding down. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Useless on the ground, in the cold, deeply. Now here is the part that matters. None of what made your ancient body healthy was a choice. It was the shape of your life. The fiber came from the only food available. The movement came from the only way to survive. The social contact came from the only structure that worked. You were not disciplined. You were not optimizing. You were simply inside a system that demanded of your body exactly what your body required. The modern world has removed almost every one of those demands. Your genome was shaped over hundreds of thousands of years of a specific kind of life. And the life you are actually living is nearly its opposite in movement, in diet, in sleep, in temperature, in social contact. That is not a moral failure. It is a mismatch, an engineering problem, and you already know what the solution feels like. Every time you take a long walk and your thoughts clear. Every time you eat a real meal and feel genuinely satisfied. Every time you sleep somewhere quiet and wake before an alarm and lie still for a moment and feel, without explanation, completely like yourself. That is not nostalgia. That is your body recognizing something it was built for. Your back still hurts. But now you know why.